Tiffany, you try to speak with me.
This is the symbol of the day. Everybody walk around and do this.
Pull those out first.
They'll let me know. Hi guys, how are ya?
Our 2 stars, Joe and Richard, will be here as soon as possible.
Hi, are you having fun? Good. Tell them.
How's everyone doing?
Hello, how's the weather down there? Hi.
You guys have a beer, right? You don't want to see me if I drink whiskey, buddy.
So, I always ask this, what interesting sights have you seen since we last spoke?
Very itchy bee man. Or a flower, but he was really itchy, and I was just transfixed throughout all of dinner last night. My jaw was on the floor looking at this man.
Is that the story I heard?
Yeah, it was bizarre. He was really itchy, and I'm worried about him today. He's probably covered in nuts.
You put my jacket on last night, and trust me, I got many heat rashes. She had the jacket on last night, so.
This poor man suffers from shingles and Tori is making fun of him.
Sorry. I got accosted in the bathroom. So.
I've been told to ask you about the dream last night.
About, the dream? Okay. It's gonna sound, but it's not anything. Well, it is something. Let me get on with it. Last night I had a dream about Tori. Yeah. I've never dreamt about Tori before, and I've known her for years. But she was in my dream last night. I went to sleep early for a change. And she told me this morning that she put on this jacket at the charity auction last night, and I said, well, what time was that? And she said around about 10:30. And I was fast asleep by 10:30. And I had a dream about her when she put the jacket on. So that's about it. I mean, it's just pretty...
It was the mold costume, if any of you's been in the track room that we have that came from PropWorks that Cliff actually wore, that Tori was wearing last night. That's kind of cool.
It was just quite a strange thing, you know? But I believe in that kind of stuff. We're sensitive.
Do you want me to tell you what that dream was about, Cliff?
I don't know if she had a few balls in her hands.
It's performance anxiety. I've had the same dream myself, I know.
Mr. Anderson here with us today.
That was the guy who accosted me in the bathroom.
We're going to go straight to questions. We're going to run this a little differently than we have with the rest of you before. Mr. Anderson's familiar. We're taking questions from the audience and asking them from the podium. Well, it's not the podium, but anyway. So the first question we have just to kick off the day is, when you got involved in Stargate, did you have any idea what you were getting into? As far as all this goes, I mean, did you ever imagine sitting here with crazy people?
No, I had no idea what I was getting into. I first went to a panel at Dragoncon, and it was probably twice the size of this room, and it's the first time I've ever been up in front of this many people. And the show hadn't come out yet, or my episodes hadn't come out yet, and it was the scariest fucking thing I've ever seen. Then I knew what I had to deal with it. All right.
I remember we had a similar experience when the first Comic-Con I did was before Atlantis aired, and we went up to San Diego, or down to San Diego, and the studio had taken us all out for dinner the night before. So, you know, we're actors, free food, free alcohol. I remember being so hungover the next day I could barely speak, and we thought we have to do this panel. I figured there'll be 10, 20 people. The show's not on the air. They opened the door. It was, big. It was like a football field of you guys, and none of us could speak. Right? I was green.
I peed a little bit.
But that was the beginning, and terrifying and wonderful.
Yeah, I had no idea what we were getting into, but walking on set and meeting guys like Rick and everybody, it was almost like, the guys who were coming out of battle, and then the guys who were going in. Like, good luck, rookie. Right, but I didn't know what we were getting into, and so I invited the cast over before we started doing the show, and I screened Galaxy Quest. And at the end of it, Tori's next to me, and she turns to me kind of slowly, and she says, I don't know if I should laugh or cry. I think that kind of sums it up.
You asked if we expected this out of conventions.
Well, I mean, did you ever see a day when you'd be, having such a fan response and how huge the franchise has gotten? Or the franchise did get.
Yeah, I mean, right in the beginning for me, when I joined the show, the first show I did was in Germany, and I was there with Peter DeLuise and Michael Shaxton, and of course Peter being Peter. It was completely overwhelming for me, because in South Africa, the show I was on, because South Africa is so much smaller, it was very, very popular. You couldn't go anywhere, and we'd done talks to big crowds of people, 50,000 people in soccer stadiums and that kind of stuff. But it's a different, the sci-fi genre is so different, it's so much more intense. I was completely overwhelmed with all of that, and I mean, the way the show is just, you guys have just kept it alive, is amazing.
Experience with Stargate fans. I was involved in another minor science fiction. I had some experience, and when the first convention I went to for the other franchise, the name of which I will not speak, I remember I think 3 episodes of the show had aired, and about 1,500 or 2,000 people in Boston stood up and cheered as I walked onto the stage, and I thought, who would not like this? I live with 3 women who pay very little attention to anything I say. So to go into a large room of people and have you hang on my every word is a delightful experience.
What was the question? Honestly, is anybody else having a hard time understanding? Is the acoustic situation in here terrible? Let's go outside.
No!
Seriously, I don't even know what the question is.
When you got started with Stargate, can you hear me? This is why you should be sitting here. I can hand you these, like, it's not gonna help. foresee all this? Or did you hope for all this? Or are you afraid of all this?
Yes. Any questions? No, I didn't have any idea. I didn't even know. Well, MGM called me because they had made a movie that was kind of had a bit of kind of a cultish hit with Kurt Russell and Spade. And when they asked me to do the Jack role, I said I'd be happy to, but you're going to have to be trusting in that. First of all, my hair won't do that. And I quit smoking a long time ago, so that was easy to write out. But as far as its growth, we had 2 franchises working for us out of the box. The movie, and then they said that the MacGyver audience was pretty loyal. We had pretty good standing at the beginning.
All right, looking back on all 3 series involved in the franchise, were there any other roles other than one more ones you played, or 20 or 40, that you would like to have played during the time you were on Stargate, or during the run of Stargate? You can't understand.
I'm right here and I can't understand you.
Should I just take this mic?
It's not.
Can you hear? Wait.
Yeah.
Can you hear me any better? Yeah. Okay. Kill this one. Okay, it's dead. How much is that? Okay. During the run of Stargate in all 3 series. In the franchise, were there any other roles other than the one or ones, what I said, that you played that you would like to have explored yourself? Who would you have played other than Ronan, Weird, etc.?
I would have liked to play Ronan.
I would have liked to have played Tori's role. She worked 1 day a week, it was great.
Yeah, Vala. Yeah, baby.
I don't know about Cliff's role. I'd like to have his abs.
You too can have his abs. The X90. Is the question still up? Oh, I know. There was a half-whore. The fact that I could remember that name should be testament to something.
All right, we're going to go to some of our audience questions. This one is just for Robert Picardo, as a follow-up to what you said earlier about your unnamed series. To Robert Picardo, how does it feel being so awesome? Do you just call any show you want and tell them to give you a part?
I checked out at Awesome.
You should keep this.
Make a copy.
Put that thing in a plaque, but
You just any show you want to tell. No. Here's what it's like to be awesome. What I do is I can just check into any hotel room anywhere in the world and I'm delighted to be there by myself. Like, up and I tell them, guess who I'm in the room with? Robert Picard. Do I just call on any show? No, but apparently the producers of Stargate did watch the other show that I was on, and why they picked me from that to play the biggest dick ever introduced. Stargate, I don't know, because I thought I was kind of lovable in the other show. But then once they decided they liked having me around, they had painted themselves into a terrible corner where they'd introduced me as a big dick, and then they had to kind of back off of that. So slowly they rehabilitated me, and then I got to take over.
For Mr. Anderson, you got your start as Jeff Weber on General Hospital. How does working on a soap opera compare to the other work or shows that you have done? And this is from Bob and Nikki.
Technically, here, I'll start there. Technically, it's different in that, well, first of all, I did General Hospital in the 70s, so I was still a bit affected by the late 60s. So that took some adjusting right there. But no, you all know this, right? You're doing a soap opera, you show up in the morning, you hopefully have the script the night before. If not, you pick it up, go through it, and you rehearse. I think then you go to somewhere else and then come back and rehearse again, and then someplace else, come back and dress rehearse, and then shoot it. It's all in my book, I swear. But like doing a television, like I almost said real television show. Yeah, it's just a different schedule. You're shooting like a miniature movie throughout the course of a week, so you can dole it out and use rare locations, whereas soap operas are all in a box, pretty much, as I recall. But I don't know, the money's different, I guess. I hear. I didn't mean to be so flippant about that, but that's my nature. Yeah.
All right. For any panelist who'd like to answer, what was the best piece of advice you were given when cast on your Stargate show? All three, no, I've got two here. And who gave it to you?
Don't do it.
Advice
I am
The best piece of advice you were given about joining the Stargate group franchise?
Nobody gave me any advice to do it.
Well, okay.
Actually, I don't know if Rick may or may not remember this. As you can see, sometimes he doesn't remember all the details. But we were on an airplane together, traveling back and forth between LA and Vancouver, and he had been doing Stargate for, I don't know, what, 137 years? How long had it been? It was the longest running show ever. And I think he said something to the effect of, don't let them give you all that gobbledygook dialogue. Be bad at it, and then they won't give it to you.
First of all,
Got me through 5 years. Thank you, Rick.
I've never used the word gobbledygook in my life. Just to set the details straight. No, but it's true. I was told early on by a soap opera actor that I was working with when I first started out, and they kept piling on tons and tons of dialogue on me. I'm the new kid on the block, right? So I'd go home and just study, and come home and or go to work and study, and then just go through a torturous 3 years and then signed on for 2 more for some reason. And then I finally asked this guy, his first name was Brett, go figure. And he just said, you know, I asked him the same question. I said, why do you get off saying yes and no and And he said, well, you made the mistake of proving that you could do it. That was my mistake. So, play dumb.
Clearly, we are all fans of Stargate. What shows, television shows, are you fans of, or if you're not a TV person, what books?
What fans are we of? I only watch South Park, The Simpsons, and American Dad. Family Guy, I'm sorry, 100% Family Guy. That's what I want. That's for me. That's what I get entertained by that. I don't have the time or the patience actually to get involved in any kind of series. But there are some good shows for sure. I don't know.
Anything on Adult Swim.
I'm a little more highbrow than Cliff. I watch South Park. I've become an aficionado of the regular show.
Wow! Yeah! I love regular show.
Regular show. This man over here, in addition to not having too much dialogue, which was great, also doesn't have a television at home. So when I make these references off him, he doesn't know them. I send smoke signals to Jason. Get a cell phone.
It's kind of weird, but I'm actually a really big fan of Game of Thrones, and kind of dorky to say that, but I'm a super fan of Game of Thrones.
I like Homeland. I watch Homeland, which is really good. I also watch Family Guy, because this guy got me started on it. And I watch South Park, and I watch a lot of MSNBC, and then I watch Netflix. I'm catching up on season 5 now of 24.
I don't really have a television, and I just discovered this thing called Netflix that you can watch shows. And I recently discovered this show, which is pretty cool, called Mad Men. I'm like 10 years behind. This is other show I'm looking forward to watching called Sopranos. I don't think SG1 is after that.
What's it? There's a new show with, I think it's HBO thing, but it's got the word news in it. Yeah! Best show on television right now.
I actually have seen that one. That's awesome. It's really Jeff Daniels, right? It's amazing. Amazing.
Okay, question for Jason. It's interesting for a second. You can hear me. Did you have any fighting skills before Atlantis, or did you learn after being cast?
I learned after being cast. I grew up in the middle of America, in Iowa, in a small town, and everyone was white, so normally I just got beat up. I didn't grow up until I got out of high school, and then when I came back, big fucking mistake, buddy.
Okay, this is one that I have had like 9 people ask now, and I keep putting it away, so I guess it's really popular. What is the significance of all the Wizard of Oz references? Okay? Yeah.
No.
Okay, there you go.
No.
For everybody
trying to do. I wasn't on the show then, or I wasn't on that episode. God bless. Is that what you're asking?
Just the wizard. Everybody seems to want to know.
There was an episode where they all took on characters.
Well, no, 200. There's a little thing, yeah. But apparently, it runs throughout the entire series. They keep making references. We'll move on.
I didn't know that. No, not Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Simpsons, yeah, but like what? What? Oh, yeah, but you know. Name another one. To Oz. I'm sorry, I don't remember what I said. That's part of the problem they had.
I think I can anticipate the answer of this, but was there any point that just makes you wonder, why did I take this job?
Well, actually, going back to the Wizard of Oz thing, the producers did ask me to wear red ruby high heels at the beginning. So I wavered just for a second.
Can you tell me, or tell us, about any particular mannerisms or phrases that you injected into your character that was not part of the script, that was kept, that's your personality coming through into your character? Is that better? He's not gonna like me after this, you guys. Well, that's why you're supposed to sit down here.
You have to put some, you have to put some bass in your voice, and these guys have got to put some treble in their voice.
If I talk down here, does it help?
It all blends together.
If I talk down here, does it help?
Play the mic.
Yeah.
Stand up. Now sit down. Jesus, woman.
Got me in trouble with Richard Dean Anderson. I don't know if you'll remember this moment. It was the first episode we were shooting the pilot of Atlantis, and because I was brought up by British parents and I spent a lot of time in Britain, some of my vocabulary is sort of mid-Atlantic, and I'm pretty good with my lines. I usually know them and I usually get them out. And it was the pilot, and I was nervous, and it was the first scene we had together, and we were walking through a corridor. And I messed up my line, and the first thing on my mouth, because I didn't want to say, F, or, that word. I don't know how many kids are here. So I said, oh, bugger me. You grabbed me, you threw me against the wall. I have not said bugger me since. That's not a phrase that you guys say over here. It's the same way you say fuck me.
I was that bad. Which way did I throw you against the wall? I remember that.
You illustrated the phrase for me.
That was the beginning of Sexual Harassment Tuesday. It became a tradition on the Stargate set.
I think I was blushing so deeply, they had to I didn't lose my breath for about a week.
What?
Hey, Rick, this is a question for you, Rick.
You I can hear.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
How awesome was it to work with Joe Flanagan?
It was so awesome, I don't remember it. I location. And the most fun about that was being on location, I think.
That was a rhetorical question.
No, I felt obligated to answer it. It was awesome. So awesome.
To the whole panel, what is your favorite quote from Stargate? Joe? Don't be shy.
No, maybe, hey, back off, Chewie.
Ricardo?
This could be to you. You think?
Was anybody at the banquet last night? You hear Robert sing and dance? Oh, you didn't dance, actually. Would you please? Oh, you guys, I don't remember anything. You know that. I just, you know, it's just not in there. So, yeah, sure you bet, as she said. But I like Joe's cut. Indeed. That was Teal. These one-word quotes.
Mine was when I said, what was that just off the top of your head? And then I cut off a puff as I said. I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, I have one. Remember saying ball as in ball? Bocce? Oh, that's right. See, I don't know my lines.
I am honored that that's the only thing you remember. Ball. Fantastic.
Okay, moving on. What would your advice be to an aspiring actor or director in science fiction?
Serious?
No.
Don't. Seriously? Tell the story.
The advice that Rick gave me was powerful. It worked for me. I would probably pass that wisdom on to the next generation. Beware of the gobbledygook.
I was kind of told, I mean, Rick did it brilliantly because that's part of his character, but you know, the whole thing with sci-fi for me is tongue-in-cheek stuff, and that's what works. It really does.
You do an awful lot of looking at things that are going to be a blue screen shot, so you have to respond. At least we did a lot on the other show. The visual effects guy would say, it looks kind of like a giant pile of glowing linguine. And then I'd say, but does it have eyes? So I knew where to look at the linguine. I guess my point is you have to use your imagination a lot. Otherwise you look stupid.
Several of you have current projects in the works, so can you tell us some about that?
Who's got a project? I want in. Seriously?
Yeah, alright, I have a movie sent to Sundance called Road to Paloma, which I wrote and directed my first directional debut, and then unfortunately I had a star in it. Doing that, and hopefully, cross fingers, we get into Sundance. Alright buddy, see you later. Vancouver is just beautiful. It's just because there's so much nature close by, and we go, you know, an amazing ski resort. You know, an hour away. Is it an hour? What's it? 2 hours? Hour and a half? Anyways, it's just really beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know. I never saw the nature. Actually, I saw a trailer. I had a hotel room that had moss growing on the patio. It rains a lot in Vancouver. So apparently there is nature there. Next time I go, I'd like to go see it.
Wasn't every planet, every location you went to was nature? It's pine trees, right? Every planet has pine trees.
That's right.
Yep. Off-world looks strangely like British Columbia.
Okay, if you were offered the chance to work with any actor or director, dead or alive, who would it be?
Clint Eastwood.
Marlon Brando.
Oh, probably, you know, Martin Scorsese, I guess, or Shakespeare. Oh, he didn't direct. I don't know. There's a lot of them, you know, but I would probably say Scorsese.
I'd like to work with guys like Al Pacino and Robert De Niro.
As a director, I'd probably like to work with somebody like Stanley Kubrick. And I would love to work with people like Paul Newman.
I've said this once before, but my immediate response is Johnny Depp, pornos.
Nice.
I dreamt about it, but you didn't see it.
Mel Brooks.
What do you believe is Stargate's greatest contribution to the overall legacy of science fiction?
Dragoncon.
Made it. Dun, 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 dun. So old. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine. Did you get the question? Or what do you believe is Stargate's greatest contribution to the overall legacy of science fiction?
Well, no, I got it. I think Stargate as a series, well, we had a cast of, or the cast of the 4 main characters. We eventually developed a really good rapport as human beings off camera. And apparently it carried on camera, and we were able to sustain like a 10-year run. Well, they did 10, I did 8. I couldn't take it anymore. But I think the nature of we as a, is it we or us as a, we better be right. We as a science representative of science fiction was that we had, first of all, it was all happening now, today, but in parallel universes today, and we did a lot of human stuff, stories that took us into, oh, I'm so full of shit. there's something in there about us being human beings and today as opposed to futuristic or... I'm still foolish. I can't dig myself out of this thing.
You'll be happy to know that the next one's the last question.
Good answer that one.
Yeah.
What do you want to answer?
Stargate really popularized the notion, at least from my perspective, that if there are other races, that they don't necessarily have to be on anything like our timeline, and that ancient alien races could have been far more advanced than we are. And it just opened up that whole, I think it popularized that topic of imagination and discussion. So that's what I think is the coolest about the show, that a zillion years ago there were people far more advanced than us. With bad hair.
Like that. Like he said.
Okay, I'm going to do what I did yesterday. Do you have any final words for us in your panel today?
I'd like to say, first of all, to you, it's always like thanks to you guys that the show's SG1 I'm talking about, of course, has been on the air for so long and was so popular. And I always just like to thank the fans. I mean, especially for me as a recurring guest star on the show. It's because of you guys that we stay in the show as a recurring guest star. Luckily, the character, catches on and you keep it alive. So I just want to say thank you to you guys for all these years of support. Thanks very much.
Jason yesterday said something to that effect, and I would like to say it again. We spent I lost a year, I know I did. And had such an amazing time, and we all, really still like each other, which is remarkable. And we had so much fun, and I will always look back on it fondly. And we would not be here without you guys, and it's an incredible connection between performer and audience, so thank you. Really appreciate it.
I said that yesterday, so
As far as hope for the future, I want you, my hat says Stargate 3000, which is the projected completion date of the Atlantis movie.
I could use a job. Now, I had a ball doing science fiction, and there's no difference for me between science fiction and any other form, any other genre, if you will, as long as because you're telling stories. I kind of meant what I said earlier. And the science fiction it has some of the trappings of technology that allow you to go different places. What do you guys say on Trek? Go boldly go. Boldly go. Thank you. Boldly go. Yeah, our 8 o'clock show starts. But so it's just it's I think more fun to do as for me it was more fun to be kind of producing the thing, because you got to piece things together and watch how all the special effects kind of came together. The way you could do it's limitless now. There's nothing you can't do with special effects. That to me is about the only difference between the stories that get told in normal dramas and this science fiction genre. But so I'll take a job in either. No, it just was more fun doing science fiction for me because I'd never had, and I'd do it again.
Well, guys, it's been an interesting hour. so much for coming, and we hope to be seeing you again. Thank you.